Episode 7. Shadows Deepen. The January air was cold, but it wasn't just the chill that froze folks in place. It was the feeling that something big was coming. The pumpkin president-elect, as loud and wild as always, was on the screens everywhere. His words bouncing from TV to phone to radio, reaching every corner. The world didn't know whether to laugh, cry, or just run. There he was, the pumpkin president-elect, standing in front of his cheering crowd. He's waving his tiny fists around like he's conducting chaos. His speech was loud. Greenland, Canada, Panama, all of it should belong to us. He goes on. Greenland's got rare minerals. It's strategic. Canada? They depend on our military. Why not make him the 51st state? And Panama? He pauses for effect. They're letting other countries mess with the canal we built. We're taking it back. The crowd goes wild. But over in Denmark, they're having emergency meetings. One advisor's like, this is no joke. He tried buying Greenland before. What if he's serious this time? Meanwhile, in Canada, still recovering from the resignation of their prime minister, folks are getting nervous. Rumors flying about annexation. And in Panama, the president stands up, speaking to the people, saying, the Panama Canal belongs to Panama. Our sovereignty is not up for grabs. Up in his high-rise, Red Star's looking down at the city. His empire's booming. SpaceX rockets, Tesla cars. But now the pumpkin president-elect's erratic plans are tying him up. The pumpkin patch plan? Huge profits for Red Star's companies, sure. But the cost to his reputation? It's mounting. Then his 4-year-old son walks in, holding a stuffed rocket. Papa, why does the pumpkin man want Greenland? Isn't it cold there? Red Star kneels down and smirks. It's not the cold little one. It's what's under the ice. Minerals, resources, things people fight over. Yu's head tilts, brows furrowed. But if they fight over it, doesn't that make it bad? Red Star's quiet for a second. His son's innocent question hits harder than any news headline. Sometimes, he says slowly, adults make things more complicated than they need to be. Back on the ground, in community halls, basements, anywhere they can meet, we the people are getting ready for their march to Washington. The news of the pumpkin president's plans? It's only making them more determined. This ain't just about us, says one elder, looking around at the tired faces. This is about the world we leave behind. The pumpkin patch plan, these threats to other nations. It's all connected. If we don't stand up now, what happens next? But fear's creeping in. The Pumpkin Party's propaganda is painting the marchers as dangerous. They're warning of violence, trying to scare folks into staying home. A young protester raises a hand. What if they come for us? What if they try to stop us? The elder looks at the kid, his eyes soft but steady. If fear stops us, they've already won. We march because we must. In the marble halls of justice, whispers grow louder. The pumpkin president-elect called Justice Alito just days before filing a last-minute appeal to delay his sentencing. The justice says they didn't talk about it, but the timing? It's raising some eyebrows. If the courts can't hold him accountable, 1-8 mutters, then who will? Another sighs, the people. It's always the people. As January 17th draws near, the streets of Washington are thick with tension. Planes carrying pumpkin party officials coming under cover of night, their glowing orange banners lighting up the dark like warning signs. Meanwhile, we the people? They're gathering, lanterns flickering in the cold wind. Inside his lair, Red Star's staring at the reports piling up. Global leaders are angry. His stock prices are all over the place. But the pumpkin patch plan? It's the key to his Mars dream. Yu's sitting nearby, lining up toy rockets. Papa, what happens if the pumpkins and the people fight? He asks, quiet. Red Star's jaw tightens. He looks at his son, then back at the screen. Then, he whispers, mostly to himself, "We all lose." In the streets of Washington, a lone protester lights a lantern. Its warm glow cuts through the cold and the shadows. The pumpkin party's convoy hums in the distance, engines growing louder. From above, a crow's call breaks the silence, sharp and clear. And as the marchers and the pumpkin party draw closer, it feels like the city's holding its breath. Somewhere, in a cold glass tower, Red Star's staring out at the night sky, while Yu's voice echoes in his head. What happens if they fight? The answer? It's coming to be continued.